It's been called the greatest film never to win Best Picture, a movie that bombed at the box office, but found immortality through word of mouth and cable television. A story so deeply laid that even after dozens of viewings, fans are still discovering new details. The Shawshank Redemption. For millions of movie lovers, this tale of hope, friendship, and redemption ranks as one of the greatest films ever made. But what if I told you that beneath its familiar surface lies a world of secrets that even the most dedicated fans have never uncovered? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on Shawshank's most closely guarded mysteries. Revelations straight from the cast and crew who brought this beloved story to life. The hidden meanings, the on-set tensions, the symbolic details placed throughout the film that completely transform how you understand Andy Drain's journey. The serent casual trivia facts. These are the profound insights that the actors themselves have revealed over the years, revelations that unlock entirely new ways of seeing a film you thought you knew by heart. From Morgan Freeman's surprising confessions about his iconic character Red to Tim Robbins' secret techniques that brought Andy Dufresne to life to the deleted scenes that would have given the film an entirely different meaning. This is the untold story of Shawshank. And I promise you this, by the time we're done, you'll never see the Shawshank Redemption the same way again. The film that almost wasn't. Before we dive into the cast's revelations, we need to understand something remarkable. The Shawshank Redemption almost never made it to theaters at all. When Frank Darabont first approached Stephen King about adapting his novel, Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, King was skeptical, not because he doubted Darabont's talent, but because the story seemed impossible to film. It was too internal, too psychological. But what few people know is that King ultimately sold the rights to Darabont for just $1. Yes, you heard that right. $1. It was what King called his Dollar Baby program, where he would allow promising filmmakers to adapt his shorter works for a token payment. Tim Robbins revealed in a 25th anniversary interview that this gesture by King created an unusual freedom on set. We aren't making a big-budget blockbuster with studio executives hovering over every scene, Robbins explained. Frank had this remarkable creative control because, frankly, the stakes weren't seen as that high. Morgan Freeman added, "It's ironic. The film that would go on to be ranked #1 on IMDb for years started as almost an afterthought for Hollywood. Columbia Pictures barely knew what to do with it. This strange beginning set the stage for what would become one of Hollywood's most unlikely success stories. A film that took the roundabout path to greatness, much like its protagonist, Andy Dufresne. The prison that made Shawshank. One of the most crucial elements in creating their film's authentic atmosphere was the decision to shoot at the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. This massive, imposing structure had been closed in 1990 due to inhumane conditions just 4 years before filming began. What the cast has revealed in subsequent interviews is how profoundly this real prison affected their performances. Clancy Brown, who played the brutal Captain Hadley, admitted, "There was something that happened to all of us when we walked through those gates each morning. You could feel the decades of misery in those walls. It wasn't something you had to act. The prison wasn't just a backdrop. It became a character in the film." Tim Robbins would sometimes sit alone in the cells between takes, absorbing the claustrophobic reality of incarceration. Those cells were tiny, 6 by 8 feet, Robbins noted in a 2019 interview. When you stood in one and the door closed, something primal happened in your brain. The panic was real. What fans may not realize is that many of the extras in film were actually former inmates of very prison. Director Frank Darabont wanted authentic reactions during the yard scenes and mess hall sequences. So, he hired men who had actually served time there. Their weathered faces and knowing glance weren't acting. They were reliving their own experiences. This dedication to authenticity extended to every aspect of production. The production team even aged the walls of the prison differently for scenes set in different decades, gradually making them cleaner as the film moved backward in time, a subtle detail most viewers never consciously noticed. Freeman later remarked that this attention to reality changed his approach to Red. "I wasn't playing a prisoner in a movie set. I was playing a man who had spent decades in that specific hellhole. There's a difference." The characters behind the characters. What many viewers don't realize is that each of the main actors developed extensive backstories for their characters, details never explicitly mentioned in the film, but which informed every gesture, every line reading. Morgan Freeman revealed that he created an entire criminal history for Red that went far beyond the film's brief mention of his murder conviction. In my mind, Red was a man who ran numbers in the black community, probably in the late 30s or early 40s. He was someone who had power on the outside and lost it all. That's why he's so good at getting things inside. He was always a fixer, always knew who to talk to and how to make things happen. This background explained Red's unique position in Shawshank and his immediate recognition of something different in Andy Dufresne. Red sees Andy and thinks, here's another man who had position and lost it all. There's a recognition there. Tim Robbins took an even more unusual approach to building Andy Dufresne. I actually created two separate characters, Robbins explained in a director's commentary. There was the Andy that everyone at Shawshank saw, careful, methodical, somewhat aloof. And then there was the real Andy, the one we only get glimpses of, the one digging through the wall at night. This dual personality informed Robbins' performance scenes in subtle ways most viewers never consciously register. When Andy is in his public persona, Robbins kept his body stiff, his gestures minimal. But in private moments, like when he plays the opera music over the prison speakers, his body language becomes more fluid, more natural. It's a shift so subtle that most viewers feel it without seeing it. Perhaps most fascinating is James Whitmore's approach to playing Brooks Hatland, the elderly librarian whose inability to adjust to outside life leads to his suicide. Whitmore revealed that he based the character on his own father who had suffered from depression in his later years. The scene where Brooks feeds the birds wasn't in the original script. Whitmore noted, I suggested it because my father used Toto that in the park after my mother died. There was such profound loneliness in that simple act. This personal connection gave Brooks's brief but crucial storyline an emotional depth that resonates far beyond its screen time. It's just one example of how their actors infused their characters with pieces of real life that transformed Shawshank from a prison drama into something far more human. The hidden meanings most fans never catch. The Shawshank Redemption is layered with symbolism that most viewers, even devoted fans, completely miss on their first several viewings. The cast has revealed some of these hidden meanings in interviews over the years, transforming how we understand key scenes. Tim Robbins pointed out a pattern throughout the film that virtually no one notices on first viewing. Andy is frequently framed behind bars or through barriers in shots where other characters aren't. Even in scenes outside his cell, Frank would position me behind staircase railings or fences. It's a visual reminder that Andy feels imprisoned in ways others don't, by his innocence, by his former life, by his secret plans. This visual motif appears dozens of times throughout the film, but registers only subconsciously for most viewers. When you rewatch with this knowledge, it transforms your understanding of how tightly Andy is caged compared to the other inmates who have accepted their fate. Morgan Freeman revealed another layer of meaning in the film's famous roof-tearing scene, where the prisoners get to work outside and drink beer in the sunshine. That scene isn't just about a moment of freedom, Freeman explained. If you pay attention, it's when Andy first begins to help the guards with financial matters. It's the beginning of his alternate identity as prison's financial wizard. While everyone else sees a man getting them beer, Red sees Andy building his escape piece by piece. What's fascinating is how this scene subtly foreshadows Andy's escape. He's literally on the roof above the prison, creating the identity that will eventually allow him to break free. The beer, which seems like just elementary pleasure, is actually the first step in a decades-long plan. Even the film's most iconic line contains depths most viewers miss. When Red says, "Get busy living or get busy dying," it's not just a memorable quote. It's the thematic core of the entire film. Clancy Brown revealed that Darabont had the line written on the production office wall before filming even began. Frank told us that every scene, every character decision needed to reflect that choice. Are they choosing life or death, hope or despair? With this understanding, seemingly small moments take on profound significance. When Andy plays the opera music over the prison speakers, he's choosing life. When Brooks carves, Brooks was here before his suicide, his choosing death. The entire film becomes a meditation on this fundamental human choice. The Rita Hayworth poster, more than meets the eye. Perhaps no element of the Shawshank Redemption is more iconic than the movie posters that adorn Andy's cell wall. First, Rita Hayworth, then Marilyn Monroe, and finally Raquel Welch. But Tim Robbins revealed that these aren't just decorations or tools to hide his escape tunnel. They are a commentary on Andy's journey. The posters tell Andy's story, Robbins explained. Rita Hayworth represents the 1940s and 50s when Andy first arrives. A classic beauty from a more innocent time. Marilyn Monroe represents the next era, the late 50s and early 60s, more sexual, more complex. And finally, Raquel Welch in 1 million years BC represents the primal, the elemental. She's literally dressed as a cave woman. It's Andy stripping away civilization, preparing to crawl through to come out clean on the other side. Director Frank Darabont confirmed this interpretation, adding, "The posters show a progression toward freedom. Rita is fully clothed, Marilyn is more revealing, and Raquel is nearly naked. It's Andy shedding the constraints of society as he prepares for his rebirth." This carefully planned progression gives new meaning to the famous shot of the poster flapping in the wind after Andy's escape. It's not just revealing his escape route. It's the final shedding of his former identity. The last layer between imprisonment and freedom. The weather is storytelling. One of the most subtle yet effective techniques in The Shawshank Redemption is how the film uses weather to tell its story. Morgan Freeman pointed this out years after release. Notice how it's always raining when bad things happen at Shawshank. The night the sisters first attack Andy, the night the warden commits suicide, the night Tommy is killed. In contrast, Andy's escape takes place during a thunderstorm. Nature at its most violent and dramatic, matching the tension office breakout. But most significantly, when Red finds Andy at the beach in Mexico, we see bright, clear sunshine for the first time in the entire film. That final scene is the only one in the movie with genuinely beautiful weather, noted Freeman. Every other outdoor scene has clouds, rain, or gray cast to it. The sun doesn't truly shine until the very end. This visual storytelling technique works so subtly that most viewers never consciously notice it, yet it affects the emotional tenor of every scene. The prison exists in a perpetual state of gloom, while freedom, true freedom, is bathed in sunlight. The shocking truth about the famous Get Busy Living scene. For many fans, the moment Redfin finally decides to go to Mexico narrating, "Get busy living or get busy dying," that's goddamn right, represents the emotional climax of the film. What few people know is that this scene wasn't in the original script. Morgan Freeman revealed this surprising fact in a 2014 interview. That scene where Red decides to go to Mexico, where Heffinelli chooses hope, that was added very late in production. Frank had finished the film, but something felt missing. The studio wanted to cut the reunion in Mexico entirely because they thought the film was too long. Frank fought back by adding that scene on the bus where I decide to go find Andy. This last-minute addition fundamentally changed the film's meaning. Without it, Red's journey would have ended with him simply being released from prison. A more ambiguous conclusion that will